All of this is brought to you by Hueman Impact LLC, where we encourage you to think, grow, and inspire. It's January 2020. My name's Influence, and you're watching You Impact. Last episode, I talked briefly about the overview of the series, so today we're just going to break that down a bit. There's going to be 2 takeaways that I want you to have from this. But just to get it started, first off, I want to say shout out to those who did their New Year's resolution. Truly, if you found a way or things that you want to change in your life for the benefit, so this could be a positive year, shout out to you. Good job to those who found their tracks and just continuing forward. So I imagine if you're watching this video, you're somewhere on the same boat. You know, you've been experiencing life and you're just not satisfied with those results. Say that's with your job, your family, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. You may define this relationship or dynamic as toxic or just negative. It could have you feeling trapped, cornered, you're back against the wall, you know, thoughts banging across your head, and this could be a very difficult time. This could be very hard and very scary, but I do want to emphasize how important this is. I like to call this the questioning state. What I mean by that is maybe you've just been experiencing life and it just feels like you're taking a lot of blows. Maybe for the past 2 or 3 years you've been putting your heart out there, and for the past 2 or 3 years you've had nothing to make up for it other than heartache. Maybe you've been working 2 or 3 jobs and then coming home and realizing you're not making a dent in your bills, or you're not making a dent in your debt. Or say you're a parent and you have kids, whether you're a single parent, if you have a co-parenting relationship, or if you guys are living together, you might have a very negative family dynamic. And every day you're just trying your best so that your kids don't see that damage. You could even be waking up every morning to go to a job that's just as stimulating as watching the grass grow in the wintertime. You know, all of these things could be very frustrating. It can be very hard. You can be angry. You could feel lonely. You can have anxiety. All of these things are natural occurrences going through that situation. That kind of reminds me of this short story. I believe the first time I heard it was a lecture from a guy named Manly Hall. But the story goes, man was standing out in the field, yelling skyward, first asking and then demanding that God would open up the floodgates of heaven so the answers of his life would be revealed. Now man standing alone in that field was met by the heavens with silence. And from that moment on, he made the heaven his enemy and continued in his ways. Now I can really relate to that story, and I believe we've all had a time in our life where, you know, we're banging our head against the wall. You're asking yourself, you know, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? You know, this carried on into your spiritual life. You're asking God if you're there, you know, or if you exist, or you're asking yourself about your worth. You know, how could this person treat me this way? Or why can't I stop doing X, Y, and Z? You know, am I worthless? Is this what life is going to be? And yet, out of all those questions, you're met with nothing but silence. And so it kind of creates this dynamic of me against the world, or me against everybody else. And before I go too far on that tangent, I do want to finish the short story, this analogy. But man made an enemy of God, made an enemy of the heavens, and went on about his ways, without once taking the time to consider that maybe it was his own question that was improper. Man went on about his ways, without once taking the time to consider that maybe it was his own question that was improper. The first time I heard that, of course, that hit me. You know, I believe it's really hard for us to be experiencing something and then reflecting at the same time. After hearing that, you know, I had to stop and think, maybe it's the way that I'm thinking about the situation, or maybe it's my response to the situation. This leads me to my second point that I wanted to bring up, is having the capacity to be honest with yourself in analyzing a situation. And so what I mean by this is, first off, it's a blessing for me to be able to work through Hueman Impact. I've been able to speak to a large number of people. And I believe, just out of my own experience in that this is the make or break point. I know without saying a list of things, we all have someone in mind that are going through something negative, and it's hard for them to face the facts. So this is why I encourage spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, whether it be once a day, once a week, or once a month, just to kind of dedicate time for you just to think about, well, what's happening? You know, I've heard a lot of stories, and even coming from a personal side of things, you know, you might wake up one day after analyzing things and say, you know, I am really unhappy right now because I'm working a crappy job. I settled for something because it was easy for me. And because of that, even though I'm getting a paycheck every week, I'm not satisfied. this job can never pay me enough because the values that I have or the skills that I have are above this position that I settled for. You know, you might find yourself saying things like, over the years, I've been in and out of negative relationships because I'm not happy. There's a part of me that's broken. And I tried to fill that with people, places, or things, but none of these were actual means of finding true happiness for myself. You know, it might not be exactly like that for you, but I believe you get the gist of what I'm saying is if you don't take the time to analyze your life, to sit and just think about what's going on, you can't be mad about the results you're getting. You can't be too dissatisfied. You know, I have a friend that's a carpenter, and he says before he builds a house, you have to lay the foundation. And before laying the foundation, you start by digging a hole. You know, from what I see all over my Facebook posts, from what I see all over social media, is like you stopped digging in 2019, right? Some of us may have started in 2005 or 2010, but 2019 was the year to put the shovel down. So a matter of fact, I think that's what I'm going to name this episode is The Foundation.